Hi guys, this is Raghav here from Headphone Zone. The best earphones under rupees 2000 compared. That's today's video, and I'm very excited because we spent a lot of time planning this video out. For those of you who've been following our videos, you guys know that it's almost an annual ritual. We put out one video once a year talking about the best earphones under rupees 2000. The one we put up last year has done very well, but it's a very popular video on our YouTube channel. I get so many people asking me questions and comments about that video. And I think this year's video is going to be a little bit different and a little bit more interesting than the ones we've done earlier. Why? Because in the last 12 months, we've had some phenomenal sounding in-ear monitors that have released, making this space under rupees 2000 very active, very interesting, with so many great options. One of the things I keep telling a lot of people is that you don't have to spend a lot of money to get good sound. And the options that we have now under rupees 2000 just proves that you can get some phenomenal sounding headphones that don't cost more than 2000 rupees. Today's video is not about figuring out what the best earphone under rupees 2000 is. I think it's really more about figuring out what the right earphone for you is, depending on the kind of sound you like, depending on the kind of music you like, and depending on what's most important to you, because there's so many great earphones under rupees 2000, and hopefully this video is going to help you pick the right one for you. Alright guys, the first earphone on today's list is from Final Audio, the E1000 and the E1000C. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar, Final Audio is a very popular brand from Japan. In fact, I think the E1000 is the only earphone on today's list that isn't from China. So it's saying something about these earphones. Now, the E1000 and 1000C are two different variants. The E1000 doesn't come with an inline mic and remote, and the E1000C does come along with that, so you can pick up and drop calls when you're on the move. The workmanship, the attention to detail, the design on these earphones, as you would expect from any Japanese brand, is just phenomenal. These have to be one of the best designed earphones at this price point. Comes in a beautiful matte black and gray, and it's a really nice shiny looking earphone. You'll find that it's bullet shaped and it's very slim, so it fits into most people's ears effortlessly. You don't have to wear this over your ear like a lot of other earphones and IEMs do at this price point. It goes into your ear straight, and that's because these are very lightweight, so they don't need a lot of support to keep them in place. In fact, I think for my wife and with a lot of women who have small ears, these are the only IEMs on this list that fit perfectly. One of the things that I will say in terms of sound quality is that it's tuned to absolute perfection. It's so beautifully balanced. There is no one frequency that stands out over the other. You find that the bass is right there, present, punchy. The treble is sparkly. They've all been balanced in a way that no one frequency feels more prominent than the other. For me, at this price point, this is pretty much where good sound starts. You'll find that for the price, you are now finally able to hear some nuance, some details in the music that you couldn't hear with other cheaper earphones or with your stock earphones or with a pair of Bluetooth earphones at this price point. You start hearing that the instruments are separated. A sound stage that starts opening up in front of you comes in place where each of the instruments are coming from a slightly different place, and you can start hearing the layers in the music. That's what this Final Audio E1000 does. And it's a great earphone for under 2000 rupees. One that I recommend anyone who's starting their audiophile journey to pick up without any question. Alright guys, number 2 on today's list is one of my favorite earphones and the absolute best-selling earphone right now in India for under rupees 2000. The ZSN Pro X, and what a phenomenal earphone this is. For those of you who aren't familiar with KZ, it's a very small boutique manufacturer of in-ear monitors from China, and you'll find that they have a cult following amongst audiophiles everywhere around the world because their earphones sound incredible for really cheap price points. It's insane how much value for money you're getting for a earphone under rupees 2000 over here. Now, the ZSN Pro X is different from virtually every other earphone that we have in today's list in one very important aspect. While most earphones have one driver per side, these have two. There's one driver, which is a dynamic driver focused on the bass, and there is a hypersensitive balanced armature driver that is focused on the mid-range and treble. And both these drivers on each side work together, playing the music into your ears with insane amount of accuracy and detail. Now, the sound signature on these KZs are an unapologetic V shape. What I mean by that is you'll find the bass is full-bodied, thumpy, but it doesn't overpower any other frequency. You'll still find that it's fun to listen to. The treble is really sparkly, very detailed, and they've extended the bass and treble just a little bit on both sides to make this a fun sounding earphone to listen to. Now, the ZSN Pro X is based off another really popular model from KZ, which is the KZ ZST-X. This is quite a popular earphone, but the ZSN Pro X is basically a replacement to the ZST-X and an improvement in virtually every way. The sound signature is quite similar, but the ZSN Pro X comes with a metallic faceplate, which makes it look more premium and durable. And the earphones have a detachable cable that's become a little better quality and works better with the other KZ accessories which are out there. Alright guys, next up on the list is another earphone from KZ, and this one is an improvement on the ZSN Pro X. I have with me the new model from KZ from last year, the KZ ZE-X, and it's very similar to the ZSN Pro X in a few ways. This also has 2 drivers per side. It's got a dynamic driver for the bass, but very importantly, instead of the balanced armature drivers on the ZSN Pro X, in this case, you have an electrostatic driver for the treble and the mids. Now, what does that give you? An electrostatic driver is really fast, detailed, crisp, and accurate, more than a balanced armature driver. And so the mid-range and the treble sounds even more accurate, even more nuanced, even more detailed, a lot more sparkly, if you will. What difference does that make to the overall listening experience? The ZE-X has a wider sound stage than the ZSN Pro X. Now, all of a sudden, all the instruments feel like they have just a little bit more definition, a little bit more character, and therefore separated a little bit more from every other instrument on the sound stage. So, in my mind, the ZE-X is just a little bit more fun to listen to, a little bit more technical, a little bit tonally more refined than the ZSN Pro X. And therefore, I'm using these right now as my primary earphone almost every day. Alright guys, next on our list is another very popular earphone from China, and one that has an absolute cult following amongst audiophiles everywhere. The Blon BL-03, one of the most popular earphones under ₹2,000 right now. Now, they've been around for a while and we've been spoken about these in some of my previous videos. It's a little different from the KZs. One, you only have 1 dynamic driver per side. And just like the KZs, the bass is nice and full and thick. It almost feels a little elevated, but not overpowering from any other frequency. You'll find that even though the bass is slightly exaggerated to make it fun sounding, it doesn't take away from the clarity, the technical details on the mid-range and the treble. The Blon BL-03 does a much better job of preserving all of those details and nuances, even better than the KZs and the final E1000C that we just spoke about. Now, where these are different from the KZs though, is that the treble has just been cooled off a little bit, just rolled off a little bit. And why do they do that? Because you'll find that if you're listening to music for extended periods of time, that sparkly treble can sometimes get very fatiguing by the time you come to your 3rd and your 4th and your 5th song. People describe it as pins and needles poking into your ears, and your instinct is to take your earphones out and take a breather. You don't need to do that with the Blon BL-03. The treble is just cooled off the right amount and it becomes very easy and smooth to listen to for extended periods of time. I describe the sound signature of the Blon BL-03 as warm and smooth. Warm because everything feels a little laid back, a little easy to listen to. Just the bass sounds warm and thick and full and fun, but the treble isn't overpowering and very harsh. So for that reason, the Blon BL-03 has an absolute cult following with audiophiles. Everyone loves the sound, and for less than 2,000 rupees, these are probably my best pick for somebody who wants a warm and smooth sound signature. Alright guys, the next product on our video is quite possibly the single most important new earphone to have released from last year. This is the Moondrop CHU. It's a landmark product for several reasons. Now, Moondrop is not a new brand. We've spoken about this even in last year's video. The Moondrop Spaceship was a very, very popular earphone for under rupees 2000, and the Moondrop CHU is the direct successor to the Moondrop Spaceship. And what a phenomenal earphone this is. This earphone, I think, is really, really important for us to talk about because it's changed the way virtually everybody makes the earphones at this price point of less than rupees 2000. It has started what I like to call the neutrality war amongst all the Chi-Fi brands which are out there. Now, the Moondrop CHU is tuned to a very specific neutral sound signature. People who like this kind of sound appreciate it for the fact that it's got virtually all the frequencies perfectly tonally balanced. The tonality of these earphones is what we're talking about. When I say that, I'm talking about a very neutral, balanced sound signature that people are pursuing. And in reaching this kind of a target curve or a target tonality, audiophiles find that this is representing virtually all details in their music perfectly. If you're someone who's looking for a thick, punchy bass, then maybe the Moondrop CHU is not for you. This is a earphone that presents phenomenal amounts of detail and balance. To my ears, they may even seem a little bright. But what's special about the CHUs is it comes with its own proprietary ear tips called the Moondrop Spring Tips, which is super, super flexible and soft. And once the fit is perfect, you're basically going to get target response that Moondrop wants you to listen to with the sound signature. For less than 2000 rupees, I think a lot of people would consider the Moondrop CHU as the most technically capable and tonally perfect earphones which are out there. So now that we've got a target response curve that almost everybody is pushing the tuning of the earphones towards, you find that the next product to come out was what I think is perhaps the single biggest release of last year, the 7Hz Salnotes Zero. Now, Moondrop CHU set the benchmark, but Salnotes Zero pushed it and improved it in virtually every way. A lot of people sometimes felt that the Moondrop CHU was a little too bright. So the 7Hz Salnotes Zero cooled off the treble just a little bit to make it more enjoyable and to make it less fatiguing. It even improved the bass just a little bit to make it a little bit warmer, a little bit more pronounced, and therefore a little bit more fun. The build quality on the 7Hz Salnotes Zero is just phenomenal. Now, why is this earphone important? Because this has been tuned by a reviewer. Clinical, if you guys are following him on YouTube, you guys know that he has a very specific tuning that he's aiming for, and the 7Hz Salnotes Zero makes that tuning possible and available for less than 2000 rupees. Another earphone that went after the same target response curve, the same tuning of the Moondrop CHU and the 7Hz Salnotes Zero is this. This is again from a Chinese boutique brand called TANGZU. I'm holding in my hand the Wan'er. The pronunciation can take a little bit getting used to. The TANGZU Wan'er for less than 2000 rupees is also a very, very well-tuned neutral IEM that's going for the same kind of sound signature that both of these guys are going, the Moondrop CHU and the 7Hz Salnotes Zero. But unlike those two earphones, this has a slightly exaggerated and slightly elevated bass, a slightly elevated lower mid-range. So this adds a slight element of warmth, a slight element of fun, if you will, to the sound signature of the other two. Some people like it, but I find that in doing that little bit of an extended bass, a little bit of that, elevated bass response, it sounds a little metallic, it sounds a little less clean and clear as compared to the 7Hz Salnotes Zero. So while it's a little bit more fun while still keeping that neutral flavor, it may not be for everyone's taste because it takes away from a little bit of that texture and timbre that the 7Hz Salnotes Zero is famous for. So let me help you visualize this. You have the 7Hz Salnotes Zero, which I think is a great reference point. You have the TANGZU Wan'er, which is got a little bit of elevation on the bass, and you have the Moondrop CHU that has a little bit of an elevation on the treble. But in general, all the three earphones are as close to a perfect tuning as you will get for anybody out there looking for a reference sound for less than 2,000 rupees. But there's one more earphone that we have in today's list, which I think is quite literally pushed the boundaries for as far as they can go for under rupees 2,000. And the earphone I'm talking about is the brand new Truthear HOLA from China. Truthear is a very, very exciting new IEM brand that's been making all the waves in audiophile circles around the world. And the HOLA is for under rupees 2,000, the most popular product to have released now in India. Now, just like the Moondrop CHU and then the 7Hz Salnotes Zero and then the TANGZU Wan'er, the Truthear HOLA is also going for that very reference neutral sound signature, and it achieves it really, really well. It's very close to what everybody else is also going for, with one notable difference in which that the bass is just elevated a little bit to make the earphone a little bit more fun, a little bit more full, a little bit more interesting to listen to, and maybe not as sterile and clinical as the 7Hz Salnotes Zero or the Moondrop CHU. And I absolutely love that. I love the way it sounds. I think in this entire war of achieving the perfect tuning, the Truthear HOLA has probably done the best job amongst all four of them. Some people may like it, some people may not, but for my ears, it sounds fun, interesting, and very, very detailed and very, very accurate. It does great justice to all frequencies. You don't lose out on any of the clarity, any of the details, especially on the mid-range and the treble, while still having a slightly interesting elevated bass to make it fun. The build quality is phenomenal. The detachable cables are amazing. Truthear is known for making some super high quality, well-designed IEMs. The HOLA does not compromise on that in any way. All right, guys, we've spoken about so many IEMs in today's video. Again, I started the video by saying that I don't think that there's any one perfect IEM. I think everyone has a slightly different preference, a slightly different sound signature that they like. And each of the earphones that we've spoken about today are the favorite earphone for somebody out there. It is the perfect earphone for somebody who's looking for that out there. I like a slightly more fun V-shaped sound signature. I like the bass to be elevated. I like the treble to be elevated. It makes music so much more enjoyable and fun. And that, I think the ZSN Pro X from KZ, the ZEX from KZ does a phenomenal job of that. The final E1000C is just a little bit cooled off. It is a little more balanced, but I think as an overall package, the final E1000C is the most complete, well-designed earphone. The fact that it has the pinnacle of Japanese craftsmanship, design, applied to the build and the quality of the earphone, it shows, and I really feel that you get phenomenal value for money with the final E1000C. Blon BL-03 takes everything that's fun about the KZ, but cools off the treble to a point where it's a really nice, smooth IEM to listen to while still having all the technicalities. So you can't go wrong with that if you're someone who's looking for a warm but yet a smooth sound signature. Then you have the four IEMs from last year, which I think have completely changed the game for this category of earphones under 2,000 rupees. It started with the Moondrop CHU, which went for a very, very neutral target tuning. And when I say that, it was considered impossible for a price point of rupees 2,000, and Moondrop showed that it is possible and started this entire tuning war. The 7Hz Salnotes Zero came right after that. It just made the sound signature a little bit more balanced, a little cleaner, a little bit more detailed and nuanced, and therefore became insanely popular with a lot of audiophiles. The 7Hz Salnotes Zero, I would still say, is a benchmark IEM for anyone who's looking for what's possible for rupees 2,000. And then you have the TANGZU Wan'er, which tried to maybe make the bass a little bit more elevated, and the Truthear HOLA that came in and absolutely nailed it to perfection. All these four earphones, I think, are very, very popular earphones for purist audiophiles who are looking for a perfect, balanced sound signature with all frequencies really, really well represented. It's not for everyone. If you're someone who wants your music to sound fun, you may find these earphones a little sterile, a little boring, a little too clinical. purists will tell you that you're hearing all the music without any exaggeration or without any compromise on details. I don't think that there's a real winner. I think there's something out there for everyone. And if you're somebody who likes a particular kind of sound signature, we now have options to make everybody happy for under rupees 2,000. Good sound genuinely doesn't have to cost a lot. And it's incredible that in 2023, we have so many phenomenal sounding earphones for under rupees 2,000. I invite you to come try these out at our experience studio here in Mumbai if you're in the neighborhood. Otherwise, come and join us at a Headphone Connect event that's happening somewhere in your vicinity. We're doing shows all across India this year, and I'm sure that there will be one not too far away from you, and I invite you to come down and try them. Either ways, even if you're building a collection of earphones under rupees 2,000, I promise you each of these earphones deserves to be on that collection. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope this was super helpful. I hope to see you guys soon.